Everybody, like I alluded to, in at least the last video, I think also the last two videos, technically, we have three of the crab guys, by the way, now. This guy's pretty close to the edge, but... Anyways, we're going to be doing the Wither fight, the Warden fight, and the Ender Dragon fight. I got everything that is required to set these up, so... Yep. As you can see, got all of this stuff. I guess we also completed getting apples. Oh yeah, so I did make the apples. Look at what this gives you. It gives you regen 3, absorption 4, fire resistance, resistance to strength 1, right? Guess what all the modium gives you? Yep, only absorption 2 and regen 2. That is it. Worthless. In fact, the carrot gives you more regen and more absorption than the apple does. Why? Why does this exist? Oh, so on top of that, the carrot gives you more saturation than the apple. For whatever reason, just don't even ask me about it, to be honest. Anyways, so now that we have the cakes all set up. Oh, so one other thing that we have had a minor problem with. Power consumption and power usage. Yeah, we've been chewing through, our energy. Like, nobody's business. This was at, like, 8,000. Yeah, it just keeps dying, so I'm, like, constantly producing fizzle fuel at this point in time. And trying to just saturate the system, feed it enough for it to constantly be going. Because if this is not going, low-key, we chew through power like nothing else will. I think that's mainly because of the ore duplication we have down below. But yeah, we're probably going to have to make a bigger nuclear reactor today. Head over to this. It's pretty good enchants. So you might have noticed how much I prepared for this and how much I actually thought this was going to be somewhat difficult. I got really good emerald apples, which, by the way, emerald apples only cost 8 emeralds. It's pretty dang cheap compared to all of the modium ones that literally cost all of the modium. So I don't know why all of the modium ones were kind of like buns, but they kind of are. But anyways, right. So I got all the apples on top of that. I eventually enchanted my bow with that level 71, which gives it like power 7, I believe, and also like unbreaking 7, which is really good. I don't feel like I need to say that, but it hit like a truck. The problem? Well, let's just say I was slightly disappointed with the difficulty level of all of it. As, it turns out they didn't change the Ender Dragon fight. They didn't change pretty much anything, any of those fights, besides the Wither fight, but we'll get to that in a second. Like the quest requested, I did in fact name the Waystone home, and then I also proceeded to keep the second Waystone to put into the end. I also went ahead and deposited all my levels just in case I died, because once again, I originally thought these guys were going to put up more of a fight than they did. Placed down the cake, ate the slice, I think, and voila. Now, I'm in the end. Went ahead and set the whetstone to end. Realized, oh wait, don't things break when you go through the obsidian platform? So then I decided to actually put it down below. Oh, so that way I wouldn't have to take follow damage every single time I wanted to go to the end. Then I got a little bit distracted with all of the different ores that are just like around in the end for a little while. Now on to the actual Ender Dragon fight, because, yeah, why not? Um, yeah, I mined a bunch of ores, and honestly, the Ender Dragon fight is the same as it always is. You shoot the crystals, and you call it a day. But something caught my eye, which was a little purple speck on the obsidian, and it turns out this is a beehive from productive bees. So we went ahead and yoinked that. Um, the rest of the Ender Dragon fight is just like a normal Ender Dragon fight, so you guys probably seen it a million times. I'm just going to skip ahead. You guys would be very surprised that I didn't even break the last crystal. Instead, I just went around grabbing a bunch of random stuff everywhere. But you guys probably have seen like enough of me just like grabbing stuff at the beginning. I also grabbed flowers though. That's pretty interesting. And my inventory kept getting so full that I started using my backpack, as you can see, to hold all of the stuff. Admittedly, half my inventory is filled with arrows since my bow doesn't have infinity. But anyways, let's get back to actually fighting the dragon. Alright, with the last crystal down, we shall down the dragon. As far as I can tell, there is nothing new that actually dropped besides the Draconian Heart, or whatever it's called, from Draconic Evolution. Otherwise, it still dropped the Dragon Egg. I thought it was supposed to drop scales, but I didn't see any scales. I didn't get any scales, but we did get the Dragon Egg. So, I don't know. Maybe we have to resummon it to get scales. Or maybe it's just like a chance to drop. But we went ahead and collected our dragon egg the old-fashioned way, take the torch, and then use the torch to get a said dragon egg. And voila, we are rich now. Now, this boss fight is very interesting. So you know how I said they changed it? Um, yeah, not in a good way in terms of like difficulty, if you will. Basically what they did is they made it not give you the wither effect. Maybe it could also be the fact that I have like all the Modium carrot, or there's something else like having absorption prevents you from getting the wither effect, or because I have regen. I don't know. All I know is throughout this entire fight, I did not get the wither effect a single time, and I ended up just kind of murdering it. It was not that difficult. I even popped in one of the apples from Pickle, the emerald apple, to give me strength 1, and yeah, that did really good. And then we went ahead and gave it the skulk thing, so that way it becomes a naturally spawned skulk, since Shrieker in quotes. You still have to walk over it like 3 or 4 times for it to trigger the warden, which I think is a little bit funny, to be honest. But anyways, so we did that and summoned it. There it is. Okay. Okay. Hilariously to me, basically, I killed it so fast, faster than I killed the Wither. Regardless of it having like 200 extra health, it was just simply for the fact that I could hit it the entire time, and the fact that my sword definitely does more damage than my bow with the strength and everything. As you can see, the second fight I did was even faster because I just decided to face tank it, and it died. And then I went to the outer end to go ahead and do two things. One of which is I want to find unobtainium, which I didn't know this at the time, but you can only mine with a vibranium pickaxe. So my efforts were going to be thwarted, but it's fine because the other thing I was looking for was just an elytra, to be honest. Any elytra. So just an end city with an elytra and some unobtainium. So it says we have to be in the end highlands, which I thought was everything, but it turns out it's not. They did also change the end terrain to be a little bit more interesting, but simultaneously it is a little bit annoying to do a lot of things, to be honest, because there's so much verticality to it, and without an elytra, getting around is a little bit annoying. So, eh? Anyways, it wasn't too interesting. It was just mainly me running around and collecting random ores and bits and bobs. But I just wanted to show you, if you look to the left of where I'm in, it basically looks like the old Farlands, in my opinion. Um, yeah. So that's what some of the terrain looks like now. Makes it a little bit harder to traverse. Happily, because we do have Forgiven Void, I think is the mod, where if you jump into the void, it sends you back up to like world height almost. Because we do have that mod, I actually utilize that to go over massive gaps instead of having to, collect thousands of blocks to get anywhere. I could just jump into the void and go whoop, 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 whoop until I got to my destination. And I had like Feather Falling 5 on, so fall damage wasn't really too much of a concern. Worst case scenario, I can just throw like an ender pearl to the floor, so that way I can TP to wherever I need it to be. After running around for about 30 minutes and finding, well, jack shite, I decided to crank my render distance while I'm on top of a pole to hopefully load in more of the map to hopefully show me where an end city is. Which happily did work. And the best part about it is I would not have found the entity if I didn't do this, because I was going in like the complete opposite direction of it. So then I went ahead and set a waypoint on top of it, so when I reduced my render distance, I can still see it. And also, so that way, for future reference, I can just find it easily. And just for reference, this is what it looks like when it's out of render distance. As you can see, the waypoint is helpful to keep your bearings. It's that red dot in the sky. Whilst I was exploring around the end city, I ended up finding an ender waystone just by happenstance, which would prove to be extremely useful here in a second. I found myself some tasty, delicious unobtainium. Only problem is I don't have a vibranium pickaxe, so it was actually useless to me. So I went ahead and made a waystone for unobtainium. Wow, cool, I know. So now we're going to come back for this eventually when we get a vibranium pickaxe. And hopefully this will be a good amount. I don't really know. I feel like trying to find so much unobtainium is actually going to be pain and misery as far as I can tell. But we at least found some, so I can say that much. Anyways, so I ended up doing quite a lot of things. Um, Initially, I was just like, eh, I'm going to just make a big reactor. I'm going to do the bosses. I'm going to hopefully get unobtainium. I already have all of the modium. And maybe I'll get vibranium in the next episode. Turns out you need vibranium to get unobtainium, and vibranium's a little bit of a pain in my backside to get. So, spoilers alert. We did not get vibranium in this episode. But we did get the big reactor done, though it did take me a lot longer than I thought it was going to, because it turns out it's expensive. Also, on top of that, to make the sinks is a really annoying crafting recipe, because every single time you craft it, it uses a bucket, which is a non-stackable item. So it's basically like the equivalent of trying to craft dispensers with bows. It takes you effing forever to do it. Except the worst part is it leaves the bucket behind, so even AE system doesn't replace the bucket, unlike dispensers where it replaces the bow. So it kind of fricked me over that it left the bucket behind. I'd rather if it ate the bucket just so that way I could craft them like that. But nope, it leaves the bucket behind. So anyways, um yeah, that I ended up doing auto crafting, except you can actually do the auto crafting with a fluid thing that has water in it, which means you don't actually need buckets of water with it, which is pretty cool. I also laid out, this is where I was laying out like the chunk size that I wanted the reactor in. So we want it all in one chunk so no funny business happens with it going kaboom, to be honest. So yeah. I got a little bit ahead of myself, but here's the auto crafter. As you can see, we have the sink in it. Um, the sink is easier to craft through the auto crafter because it just needs the liquid water instead of needing buckets, which makes it like 10 times easier to craft. Especially since it crafts it itself and I don't have to do any of it. Woo! Oh, so the CPU is on the side, as you can see. We only have a 1K, that should be enough. We also changed out that one for uranium, which I'm not sure if I showed on camera yet. It used to be gold, now it's uranium, just because we needed that much for our fuel. Um, we were having a problem, so I had terracotta in my system, but it turns out I had one extra channel that I didn't know about, so I needed to fix that. And that extra channel is the terminals, because it turns out the pattern terminal counts as a channel. So that took me a little while to figure out to remove that and put it on a different cable. I also made a bunch of patterns for the induction stuff. So that way when we need to craft more induction components, it will just be like 10 times easier to do that. So then, because I was getting annoyed by the mob farm, I added a sound muffler. Funny thing though, the sound muffler does not muffle the people with the backpacks that have music discs in them, so I still hear like disc 13 and disc 11 every once in a while. It jump scared me the first time, but honestly now I'm just used to it. Um, then on top of that, it also doesn't mute slimes for some reason. And then I got the muffler for the freaking lava dispenser thing, so I don't have to hear the bucket sound constantly going blop, blop, blop. So yeah, those things are implemented. Cool, fantastic. Nice that I know this mod exists. And then I was looking through and I really wanted to make the mega storages with millions of storage, as I could probably fit my entire, like, life inside of a 64 million mega storage at this point in time. Um, but what ended up happening, spoilers, I guess, is it turns out you need a special one for it to not have types on it. Otherwise, it has the same type restrictions as the normal ones, which makes it only useful for like en masse items, like if you have a cobblestone generator or something. where you have a bunch of one type of item. So to be able to get the one that doesn't have the type restrictions, you need to go through Ars Nouveau. And to be honest, I didn't really get to it in this episode. But something I did get to was making all of the patterns for all of them. So that way, for future, we can craft them all at once, or we can see how much more materials we need to be able to craft one. As you can see, it tells you what you're missing, which is pretty nice, pretty cool. Yeah. So then we went ahead and we made the massive nuclear reactor. It has four stacks of fuel rods, which means it can burn 256 fuel per tick, which is a whole lot. It's why we have so many sinks next to it. Um, we actually need a lot more sinks, it turns out. And also, the question that I had at least is, does pulling from multiple sides of the sinks actually increase the amount of water it gives you? The answer to that is yes. So that means you want to pull from as many sides of the sink as you possibly can for it to be the most effective. Um, so that's why we basically have a massive wall of pipes, so that way we can pull from every side of the sinks as much as possible. Um, on top of that, we also destroyed the boiler because we no longer need that. And eventually we destroyed the small nuclear reactor and also the massive dynamic tank eventually. So of course, after we make the thing to make us power, we make a different thing to make us power instead, and don't even hook up the other thing. Because, I don't have ADHD, trust me. Uh, so we made nuclear fusion now, and we have it set up with the DT fuel and everything. Um, and we have the laser set up. Now, to initiate the reaction, you need a DT fuel hull ram in it. So we have that in there. Then also on top of that, you need to have the laser with at least 1 billion power in it. So it's going to eat one whole billion of our power, but in exchange, it will make us 16 million for free energy always. Now, there's a little tiny caveat to that, and that is you have to keep injecting it with tritium and deuterium. Um, and also for the 16 million, you need to have it at 98 burn rate. But 98 burn rate is basically nothing, to be honest. The only problem is the neutron activator thing that we have. Only makes tritium during the day. So it basically has to be daytime for it to constantly make tritium. But hopefully the ultimate pipes have enough, like, extra in them that eventually, if it is not daytime, it has enough to, recover once it becomes daytime again. This I do not know, I didn't actually test that. But basically, all you need to know is we're making a bunch of free energy for basically doing nothing. We don't even have to, like, upkeep with fuel, unlike how we have to do that with the fissile fuel. So, pretty cool, I think. Everything is automatic, and 16 million fuel for free. Pretty cool. Now, one thing I should note is some of the things do take power, so maybe it's not quite 16 million. But I highly doubt those things take over a million themselves. So it is at least bare minimally like 15 million for free, which I'm not going to complain about. You can also water cool it with steam, just like you do with a fission reactor. But it actually makes a fixed amount depending on how much fuel burn rate it has, which is the same as the fission. I don't even know why I mentioned that. Anyways, point being, the most it can make is almost 90 million steam per tick. Uh, not 90 million, 9 million, or is it 9 billion? No, it's 9 million, I think, of steam. Point being, if you throw that into a turbine, it's about like 40 million power per tick if you do it that way. On top of that, the thing still makes you 8 million, although not the 16 million, so it halves it. But as long as you have a turbine set up, you get 40 million plus the 8 million, so it makes you like what, 3, 4 times more. Um, and all you need to do is just put water in it and have a turbine set up, which you probably already do. So pretty cool, at least I think. But I just wanted it to be simple, so we're not doing that. Okay, so I was just tricking around with this little thing, and this big mother trucker can sustainably do 80 millibuckets. It probably could do more. I haven't tested that out. It can do like 85. I basically had it like on the money. Okay, so we're making 60 million. Okay, there we go. It finally leveled off eventually. Yeah, no, I like attached it for a second and it was like, let's go, mega ogo wogo time, or whatever you want to say. Anyways, okay, so normally if we have it at 18, it makes, well, I mean 80, it makes 18, which is more than the flux thing can actually handle, so maybe we should just put like it here instead and have it directly attached in, similar to what we did with this. Now I have a little bit more footage and I want to keep this at least under 40 minutes, so yeah, we went ahead and made plutonium production. Woo! And then we, set up the rest of the thing. We also have the upgrades for it. Okay, so I got a little bit sidetracked. Completely took down this entire thing. We have the extra sinks that we can go ahead and use for this. We could also use the pipes. To quickly sum up what was happening right now is I was trying to make vibranium, which required the extended crafter tier 3. I had the extended crafter tier 1, except it was the basic tier, so it didn't even have any extra things. I don't know why it didn't. It actually kind of annoyed me that it didn't. Anyways, point being, right? So we were trying to get the extended crafter. On top of that, we also made the ender crafter, because we need both of those crafters to be able to um, craft vibranium. But on top of that, what we also needed, on top of all of this, that I wanted, actually, I should say, is the 16 million storage thing, which eventually we did craft the 16 million storage thing, but kind of how I explained, where I figured out that you have to have the housing made by Ars Nouveau to actually have uh, it without the type restriction. So, yeah, we did not end up actually using it, although we made it. To be able to do the vibranium, you need a bunch of geo ore crystals, which means we need to make a bunch of geo ores. So, against what I wanted to do, I kinda had to. Each geo ore requires an entire block or 9 pieces to make it. Um, Reason why I say 9 pieces is because you can make a block of quartz, but since a block of quartz actually only counts as 4, um, you still need 2 blocks plus 1 extra gem to make it. So, in other words, just 9. 9 of anything to make a geo ore. Um, Unless, of course, we're talking about the vibranium and unobtainium, because those count as 9 blocks, not 9 ingots. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Okay, so got a little bit sidetracked. We went ahead and made all of the modium stuff. Got rid of the obsidian stuff, although technically, if you look at this, this is less than this. But we're going to need it to make vibranium gear anyways, which is in fact required for chapter 3, to make vibranium gear. So, we kind of have to do this. Also because I thought this set would make where I was able to fly, but it doesn't. We still get dolphins, grace 1 more in water. I wonder if there is, like, if I go into lava, do I get fire resistance? Or fire, do I get fire resistance? No. Okay, I don't know if there's any other effects, but it does have infinite durability, so we don't have to worry about that, at least, I guess. If you want a better explanation on the system we're using, then I would highly suggest you check out Chosen Architect when he did, well, the mods 10 when he went into Geowars, which I think was like episode 10. Anyways, basically what it is we're using a blaze gold pickaxe from Just Dire Things with an auto smelt upgrade, and we're just having it break the geo ore when it is at its max size. And then we also have the crystal boosters. One is the directional one to make it go into a direction, and the other one is the super booster that actually makes it grow a lot faster. Um, you can't have multiple of the same ones, so you cannot have multiple directional ones or multiple of the super grow ones. That's why we have one of each. And as you can see, voila. Because it also auto smelts, it means we don't get the shards. Instead, we just get the finished product after it's quote unquote smelted, which is pretty cool. And then we also have the XY craft thing that picks up things. So that way they don't actually fall on the floor and count as entities, which is really good for lag reasons. Anyways, the nice thing about this is we can just kind of set it up like this modularly. Yes, there we go. Which allows us to whatchamacallit, have it where we can just have this like stacked to the sky and have every single geo ore like this, which is nice, I would say, in my opinion. So yeah, pretty cool. And then we started on one of the crafts that we need with the Ender Crafter, which takes a little bit of time, so I started looking at quests while I waited for it to finish. Voila, now we got Uraninite, which we need the crystals of from the geo ore to be able to get, who would have guessed it, vibranium. Pretty cool. Oh, so completely unnecessary, and why would they do this to me, and why couldn't I just make it the same way that I made everything else? How dare they? Anyways, so yeah, now with Uraninite, we have all the crystals that we actually need to be able to craft it. Now the only thing is actually making the crafter for it. Okay, so we can make the 16 storage thing. So yep. Okay, we have received the 16 million storage component. The problem is we have to make the storage house, which means we have to do Ars Nouveau and make manipulation essence, source gems, and all of this. Plus, to make this, we need more source gems, more manipulation essence, and of course, the regular housing, which really isn't that much of a cost. We expanded the area because it turns out I actually want a bigger ME system than I have currently, to be able to basically autocraft everything. So I went ahead and just made some room out in the back. Also because freaking having like 3 blocks high space makes it a little bit difficult to actually build like an ME system. So yeah, that's also why I expanded it downwards a lot more. So that way we have plenty of room to build this. Okay, so we did a little bit since we last left off. For one, we instead of lighting up the entire place, we just used master torches from Torch Master to keep where mobs can spawn. We also have this because a bunch of bats started spawning, so yeah, that prevents the bats from spawning. We have this massive cube, and because you can't have multiple controllers, we switched it out for a massive cable. This one's the smart cable, telling us that we have 25 channels. So then I started trying to autocraft infused alloy, and it was just being goofy. It really didn't want to do what I wanted it to do, which was honestly really annoying. Eventually I did figure out how to do it, but I had to watch like freaking 2, 3 guides on how to do it. Um, yeah, really kind of bleh. That's the best way to describe it. Very annoying. For like context, this took me like 4 hours just to craft infused alloy. Now, admittedly, once we got the infused alloy crafted, basically it was just rinse and repeat for every single other one. Same process, same everything, you know. So pretty simple. So let's cancel that one. Let's try to get this one to work. And absolutely nothing's happening. Perfect. I don't know why. So, anyways, although I wasn't really crashing out right now, a few more attempts of me trying a couple of different things, watching a few different people do things, and none of them seemed to be working for me, I started to actually crash out, which I'm not going to show because it's probably not YouTube friendly. But anyways, continuing on, eventually I did actually figure out how to do it. Okay, I just watched a video of some guy trying to do this. And seemingly all I needed to do was put it on extra. We'll see if that works for now. If it does, I'm gonna be a little bit upset. And if it doesn't, I'm going to be real pissed off. Why? 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 Does it have to be below? Does it just have to be below? That's its output. It's taking input. Items on auto reject. Does it work now? Cancel. Do it again. Oh, cool. Okay, so. So yeah, no, I had to cut out all of this. Yeah, don't ask too many questions. Okay, I have calmed down from the last clip. I watched a mini tutorial from specifically this mod pack, and it turns out what you can do is the advanced provider. We have this thing all set up. So let's go ahead and actually empty out all the extra excess redstone we have. Yeah, we have like 51, so that means we need 51. Nope, we have 53. So that means we need 53 copper. Put the 53 copper into this. And voila. Okay. So basically what this does is it's exactly what I was thinking before. So you have enriched redstone go in, 8 copper go in, you get infused alloy. But for some reason, you just need to do it with this. But it does work now. We also have this set up as a different thing, so that way it makes all the enriched stuff. And then we have it like this, because as far as I can tell, although you can have it the way I had it, where this goes into this and then exits, it is more complicated to do that. This is the way you're supposed to do it. So basically what we have is input through the bottom, the extra, which is the redstone alloy, not redstone alloy, the enriched redstone is going through the top, which you can do with the advanced processing pattern. Tell it what side of the face of the thing that it goes into. And then we also have well, yeah, this thing shoots out here. Voila, it works now. That's the point. It works now. And voila! Now this thing should be able to do literally everything. Okay. Mega processor setup. Wow. This is 32 different processors, so it's using an entire dense cable worth of channels, as you can see. Happily, dense cable can actually attach to all of them, so we could just have a dense cable run through it, so we don't have to worry too much about trying to get all of the 8 cables to go into the one dense cable. So yeah, we just have dense cable. Anyways, bunch of channels. Well, not channels. We used all of the channels to get 32 processors. Wow. Now we can do like 32 autographs if we really want to. We also use 64 thing on all of them. So each of them at least has 128K worth of storage. On top of that, 2 co-processing units, allowing it to use 3 molecular assemblers. So after we got all of that set up, what we ended up doing was we were crafting a bunch of the induction things to store a bunch of extra power. Now that we had maxed out on power, which is about 5 trillion, is how much we had. So making 10 extra will give us, what is that? Like 16 trillion extra power on top of that, giving us about 20 trillion worth of power storage. It also didn't really take too long, as you can see. Now, admittedly, I cut out a lot of it, but it did take about, I want to say, 10-ish minutes to be able to do this all. Now, after 10 minutes went by, and we made them all, voila, we installed them. Now, continuing on to actually installing them, um, we should make just enough to fill the exact bottom with them, which means we should make 3 more, which we did not make, believe it or not. This is actually pretty much like close to the end of the video, but now this means we can basically run the nuclear reactor always without having to fear that we actually max out on power at all, ever. Anyways, we also cranked the nuclear reactor a few times. It turns out we can actually sustain 160 now that we added the new sinks and a bunch of extra pipes. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But we didn't do it in this clip, did we? No. So here's the clip where we at least made it to 130, and we kept checking back and forth of how much power we were actually making. As you can see, we're making 29 million by having it at 130. Eventually, yes, we do make it 160. I don't really care enough to find that clip. Also, the fact that, lo and behold, we kind of need to keep moving because it's over 40 minutes, which is the targeted goal I wanted it to be at length. Whatever, who cares? Continue. So, for pylons, we went ahead and we made the fantabulous, like, what is it, potion filter card. And we potion filtered off ourselves Creative Flight, which we made through Apotheosis Brewing, I think it was. Point being, we did it with pylons and put it into a pylon, which I saw when I was watching a Chosen Architect video, to give us infinite creative flight no matter what dimension we were in, which is really, really cool and really, really nice. So now we get creative flight. We don't need the jetpack anymore. Everybody's happy, right? I think so. Basically, how it works is you drink the potion and then you use the filter to take it off of yourself. So I found out a little thing that I could do that was really good. You know how good the golden apples we have were? Well, it turns out you can take off all of the things, so fire resistance, strength, regen 3, all of that. Now we have as permanent effects, no matter what dimension we are in, or anything like that. Um, so yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we went ahead and we went around stealing a bunch of, mob spawners from the nether fortresses. It also turns out the mod pack lied to me. Bastions do exist, and bastions do give you netherite templates. I don't know why the mod pack said bastions do not exist, but it turns out they do. Eh? So anyways, yeah, we just grabbed a bunch of mob spawners, and we actually looted a few bastions, and we got netherite templates from them. So I'm a little bit annoyed that we had to do that whole thing with Apotheosis, where we made the diamond template to make the netherite template, and it took me forever, and I do mean forever, to get freaking the template. The, not the template, the luminous gem to make the template. I guess this is like the outro for anybody who wants to watch this. Is just me, all of the stuff that I got from the nether thrown into my AE system. And then there's one last thing. This sheep decided that freaking this little island must have been a battle royale. So it was playing Fortnite and pushed every single other animal off. So I decided I should give it a crown. You know, it's Victory Royale crown, because it's so good at playing this battle royale. So there you go. I have crowned the sheep.